Congressman, I want to start with this form that we now know Jeff Sessions did not include information about his meetings with Russians. When you filled out this page, right? I would assume you were a CIA agent.
Yes.
Does it surprise you to hear that he did not include, he did not list any contact he had with the Russian ambassador?
Well, because I think the intense scrutiny that he knew he was going to go under, oversharing is probably better than undersharing. Also, you know, in a lot of these forums, you talk about close and continuing contact. That those are the kinds of people that you report on the forum, because, you know, you don't report, let's say you have a favorite restaurant and you go there every night and the person that is your favorite server is somebody from Spain. That person is not going to go on this forum.
Right.
But in this instance, so we have to remember that. And we also have to remember that 23 million of these forums were stolen by the Chinese a year and a half ago, and everybody was outraged. And whether it's 23 million of those forms being revealed or one, we should discourage this kind of sharing of information, of leaking.
And I want to ask you, about the leaks.
Yeah,
sorry, I just want to. So on page 59, you know, they ask you about close and continuing for yourself. This is, you know, professional activity. So on this page, page 76, I just want to be clear. It actually doesn't ask whether it's close or continuing. It's just, have you had any contact? So this is, I guess, where you're getting at the point of oversharing, right? A one-on-one meeting, which we know he had multiple times, more than once, at least twice, with the Russian ambassador, would certainly fit this description.
Again, knowing the focus and the scrutiny that you're going to receive, oversharing is probably a good strategy. And especially now this in light with the revelations earlier where he had to go back to the Senate to talk about his mischaracterization of some of the context. You know, this fits a broader narrative that many want to drive. But I think this is, you know, an issue that ultimately Robert Mueller would be looking into when he do a broad review of Russian involvement in our elections.
And I want to ask you also the developing news tonight, as of course we now know that Paul Manafort, that the Russians were hoping to use him to influence Donald Trump. We've reported they also tried to recruit General Michael Flynn. And tonight, as you know, General Flynn is refusing yet another request of yours and your committee to provide documents. At this point, do you think he is covering something up? He has refused request after request after request. He has pled the Fifth Amendment. He is giving you guys nothing.
Well, I can't speak to his motivation on why he's making the decision. He is pleading the Fifth, and I think when you know, former FBI Director Mueller comes knocking, there will be a conversation about the extent of his contact and what happened when and where. Also, just to mention, the Russians saying they're looking to go after somebody, it's just that. The Russians showing their intention, but that does not reveal whether or not they acquiesced or whether they were successful. Yeah. So in that case, we have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but this is why it's important to have someone like Bob Mueller doing a thorough and meticulous investigation and looking down all these different rabbit holes.
Congressman, I want to ask you, because Jason Miller raised this point you just referenced, the issue of leaks here. You know, it's a complicated issue. If we didn't have these leaks, we wouldn't know a lot of these things, and these are pretty important things to understand about the people who are running some of the most important institutions in this country. So without leaks, we wouldn't know this. And yet, these leaks, as the New York Times points out in its story tonight about Paul Manafort, current and former officials agreed to discuss the intelligence only on the condition of anonymity because much of it remains classified and they could be prosecuted for disclosing it, right? That acknowledgement. Today, Israel, the defense minister, said they had to make a change. They had to make a pointed correction in their agent dealing with ISIS after the president shared highly classified information with the Russians, which of course leaked to the Washington Post. And today, the United Kingdom, very upset at the United States over leaked information related to the Manchester bombing. Do you think the people involved in these leaks should go to jail?
providing classified information that is outside of your ability to share that information is a violation of the law. And former CIA Director Brennan, who served under the Obama administration, made it very clear yesterday that the leaking of classified information is a threat to our national security, and people should be punished to the full effect. And I think this is something that everybody agrees. And I would push back a little bit on an earlier assumption that this information would not have come to light had it not been for these leakers. Knowing that there is a criminal investigation ongoing, there's 2 oversight hearings ongoing, and our goal is to, when this is all said and done, be able to make public as much of the information as possible so that the American people can understand this.
But do you think there would even be a special prosecutor if this information hadn't been leaking out and causing the outrage or the confusion, the consternation that it has?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't think we'll ever know, but we have a special prosecutor. We have two oversight investigations, and I think based on the hearing yesterday, I think it shows that the House investigation is on track, and we're doing this in a bipartisan and in a thorough manner, because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that the American people are confident in whatever turns out, and that's why we have to be thoughtful, we have to be patient, and we have to follow the truth wherever it may take us.
All right, Congressman Hurd, good to have you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Aaron.